Oh, hi.
I can say you.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
All right, so in this specific scenario with this lawn, it's a weekly lawn, but it's late, which happens, okay? And the reason why I like weekly is because occasionally you're late, whether it might be rain or some odd scheduling, or maybe you have a breakdown or whatever it is. Try to be very consistent with your scheduling, and you'll retain clients, and you'll get more clients. Neighbors notice when you're on time. And your confidence will be there as well. Like your value's there when you're on time and you just run a good business. But when you have a weekly lawn service, like this one's weekly, run that newspaper up there. But when you have a weekly lawn service and you're late, worst case scenario, you're out 2 weeks. That's it. So you have to cut it when it gets a little bit high. Like this is 2 weeks, okay? It's high. This is what I would consider high. All right, I believe I do a double pass on this. But my point being that if you're at 2 weeks and you get rained out, where you have a breakdown, then you're at 3 weeks. If you get rained out again, then you're at 4 weeks. Weekly, you almost never fall back to 3 weeks. It's some crazy insanity if you do. This year, I didn't fall back past 2 weeks on any of my lawns all year long. And I mean, I really didn't fall behind at all because I was out there using the weed eaters to stay caught up. I have a painting company as well, if you guys don't know, and currently I am in production on both sides of the businesses. So for the painting company and the lawn company, they were full time, both 40 plus hours on each business. So it was a lot of hours. And then, there's estimates and everything else that goes into it. I did have an employee this year with the painting and the lawn care, but it's one of those things that I'm working to get out of the production on that and eventually out of the production on the lawn care as well. But my kind of got off track there. What I was trying to go with is that when you fall behind, it takes a while to get caught up because all the lawns take a long time. So if you have your production at almost max capacity, and by the way, look at this tip. I'm going around in a circle, and I'm putting an edge in these. Okay, just like you would edge the sidewalk. This is the water meter cover. That's how I kind of edge those. So if it's got real nice thick grass, that looks really sharp. This grass kind of looks rough at the moment. It's in the middle of summer. It's starting to dry out, and I believe this was footage from 2018. So anyways, where I was going with all that is your scheduling is something that you need to take very serious when your time's in demand. You want to get the best man hour rate possible, meaning you want to make the most per hour you can for your business. So if you fall behind and you're playing catch up, your man hour rate drops. You lost income from that service you missed. It's taking longer to get caught up, and that's kind of part of the game on certain times of the season. But then on top of all that, it's harder on the machines as well. So what I would suggest for you is, if you're building your company, absolutely take those bi-weeklies, take the 10-day schedules, whatever you got to do. A 10-day schedule is a nightmare, but I'll talk about that in another video. But if you got to take those bi-weeklies, do it. And then when you get to a certain stage, when you start getting full and you need to leverage your time, go in and fine tune it and say, hey, we're going to drop down, we want to provide a consistent service for you. So we're going to only offer weekly. This is going to guarantee that we're on time every time, and we're able to give you a better service. We'll be able to spend a little bit more time at your property if needed. And that's kind of how you go with that. And just let them know it's going to look better, and tell them that's what you're doing with your business. And really what's going to happen is, so when I did that, I went in with the opinion that I could lose 50% of my clientele and not lose any of the gross revenue. What I ended up finding out is that I only lost about 3 or 4 customers, which is not a big hit. It's easy to get 3 or 4 more customers, okay? What do I generally run a week now? By the way, I cut this weird because I was, it was one of the first lawns I was actually filming.
Alright, first things first, I need to clean up the sidewalk here. I'm gonna blow all this, okay? I don't know if you can really see it. All the pine cones and stuff that the squirrels have been eating from the tree. I'm gonna blow all that in the yard so I can shred it up. You can see how high this is. The Bermuda's gone to seed. It's most of it's about 5 inches, but some of it's higher. So this is Bermuda. This right here is drying out Bermuda, and this darker green, that's Georgia. Okay, and then weeds by the fence. So I just mow for this client. She's had me trim this once before. It's been a long time. And then this stuff in the fence I cut out once a year. All pretty simple. Her leaves, I mulched the majority of them up, and then she has me pile some there. She had like a 4-foot hole when she bought this house. And then there's actually another hole. Where am I looking at? Another hole right here. You can see it dip down. So I have to avoid that with the mower, and this one over here, I'll drop like knee deep, even with all the leaves there. That's what she wants me to do. For the last couple of years I've been putting them there. Then you can see there used to be an old wire fence here, and then before this privacy fence was put up. So this area of town, the houses were built probably, I don't know, 40s or 50s. So there's old wire fence. A lot of them have been redone around here. But following this line all the way down, there's a wire here and there from that fence where it's been cut. And if I don't watch out, that'll stick through my shoe or pop my tire. Ooh, this stuff is high.
Back to what I was saying, I normally wouldn't blow off in the middle of the job. That's it's a waste of time. I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it's not efficient. You know, use one piece of equipment, mow, then edge and weed eat, then blow everything off. That's the way I normally do it. I used to weed eat before I mowed when I did a lot of bi-weekly, so that might be something to keep in mind, that when you're doing bi-weekly you might want to weed eat before and then just learn where your mower can get in there. The reason why I would weed eat before is so that I could, you know, get all the grass. I would actually walk backwards with it so that the grass would shoot into the yard, and then obviously, like right here, you see there's a lot of debris. Well, just like the mower's cutting off a lot of debris, so is a weed eater, and then you can mow over that and it'll clean it up a lot better. So as far as the scheduling goes, like I said, I could lose 50% of my clientele and be just fine, right? I only lost 3 or 4 clients. Super easy to bounce back from. You know, you knock on doors, do some door hangers, maybe do mail outs or this, that, and the other. But the idea is that when you're starting to get full and you can't fit any more in, that's when you want to do it. Okay? That'll allow you to boost your income by creating more services per year with those customers. So I did not give a price decrease when I went from weekly to bi-weekly, or when I went from bi-weekly to weekly, and I even raised the price on some of those customers as well. And I just said, that's what we got to do, you know. It just is what it is. Like, so say this 36-inch mower, by the way, I look for deals on the equipment that I get. So this mower I bought for $1,500. It is a hydrostatic 36-inch walk behind. It's got the Velke on it. So I find these walk behinds pretty cheap in my area. I paid $1,500 for it. Normally these are up for the price around $2,500 or so. I'm not saying that's what they're worth. That's what I see them on the market for all the time. I paid $1,500 for it. Somebody's going to tell me that was too high. I've had it for several years. I don't think it was too high. It's made me a lot of money. But the point being is, if I did want to replace this with a brand new piece of equipment, say I wanted to get a stand-on mower, because if I was going to replace it with a brand new piece of equipment, I would get a Toro or a Skag or something like that stand-on mower that's equivalent to this. I would get a 36-inch because that's what fits in all my residential gates. It's going to cost around $7,000 or $8,000, right? So that's what that piece of equipment is legitimately worth to you and your business, because that's what it would cost to replace it. Now, if you're planning to replace it with something used, that's okay, but you're going to have to plan for the high side. So I would need to plan around $3,000 if I was going to replace it with something used, because I may not be able to find that deal in a rush if for some reason I blew the engine. Which does happen, you know. I mean, you're talking used piece of equipment. Now you can replace the engine too, but if you buy a new engine, that's a couple grand. That stuff's expensive. Now, I know there's mixed opinions on sizes of mowers. Some people say certain sizes are a waste of money. I wouldn't use that. You know, like I hear that about a 36. There's no way. I think a 36 is a stupid size of mower. And I heard about 52s and 54s. That's a mid-size mower. There's no point to get anything between a 36 and a 72 or a 61. Look, it all comes down to personal opinion and the type of properties that you service. So when you go to make a decision on what size of mower you get, it really just comes down to you and being the most efficient. This section here, I'm going to say that and I'm going to get back onto the topic, but this section here has so many rocks. It used to be like some kind of walkway or flower bed or something before my client bought the property, but I have to weed eat it instead of mow it. That's one of those areas that's a nightmare. Anyways, moving on. As far as the size goes, for me, a 36-inch fits into all my gates, because I do a lot of in-town lots, and modern gates, they normally have at minimum a 36-inch gate. Now if you're doing older properties that don't have the modern wood fences, you're probably going to run into a lot of chain link that has, you know, a 30-inch gate or a 32-inch gate, or even a 20. You'll run into some 28s, 24s. There's some odd size chain link gates, and I don't know if those sizes are 100% correct. All I know is they vary and they're pretty small, and a 36 doesn't often fit through them. Now, I decided to quit push mowing several years ago, because the thing is, like, if your employees are using them, it wears them out. If I'm using them, it wears me out. You get at home at the end of the day and you're worn out. That's not good for me, man. I need to run a business that's good for my personal life. So when I come home, I don't want to be tired. I want to be able to play with my daughter. I want to be able to be somewhat functioning. And for me to do that, I decided to get rid of push mowing. You know, because I've actually used like, not a step counter, but like one of those GPS trackers for exercising and knowing what distance you're running and stuff like that. So if you actually put that on your phone and then you push mow some of these yards, you'll be really surprised at the amount of distance it takes to push mow some yards. I mean, some yards it's like, you know, anywhere from it could be a couple miles, and then like these, when you gotta do a double pass on them. That's the other thing. It takes a long time to do bi-weeklies and, you know, do a double cut on it. So for me, with the 36-inch, I can fly across the yard, do a double pass real fast, because the first cut takes a little longer if it gets high, but the second cut always goes quick, because I'm just dispersing the grass at that point and doing some fine-tuning if it missed a blade here or there. But you know, it's kind of part of the job. You're going to have to do double cuts, even triple cuts sometimes if you want to make it look good. I would suggest you not do that unless it's a weekly client, or you discuss with them and you let them know, hey, it's going to cost a little more for me to cut your yard every 2 weeks. It's just one of those things. So back to the mower size. Pick what fits best for you. For me, that's 36-inch. If I add in a larger mower, it'll probably be a 52 or a 61 down the road, and it'll be because I have a lot of corner lots. So I think that would be a good addition to my business. 48s also fit in quite a few gates too. So, like I said, just do some measurements, figure out what type of niche you're going to have. If you're doing large properties, get a large mower. And maybe you're the kind of company that you're going to have multiple sizes mowers and you're going to be hitting a little bit of everything for a while. That's something I did for a little bit, and I just decided going for one type was best for me.
Finished job. She's looking good. If you want some stripes, they're kind of there. Kind of there. Look at that air conditioner. That's massive. So it's hot, and I've got 2 more. I'm gonna blow out this section of concrete real quick. But I'll just check up there. I got 2 more. Just a little catch-up day, nothing crazy. And then I'm heading home. Shouldn't be too bad. I almost forgot to do an after shot of up front. Pretty decent edge considering I use a weed eater on this one. You see around the water holes here. Use that to kind of use the weed eater to edge that up. Normally I'll go around trees too. That one doesn't have a real nice mulch in it, you know. It's kind of washed away. On to the next one.